friend. Today we're going to talk about how you and I can finally find the ever elusive balance in life between productivity and rest. Hey there, friends. I'm Heidi, the Heavenly Minded Homemaker, and I love sharing here in this space about all the things being a Christian woman. I know for me, I've been married for 20 years now. I have 4 children that I homeschool from 20 down to 6. Our oldest now moving up into his adult life and everything he's doing. Our dear friends just moved onto our property, so now we've got a family of 14. I homeschool, I homestead, we have a home ministry, right? All of these different things. And it means there are a lot of pieces that I am trying to juggle on the norm. But when the conversation came up in this week's episode of Happy Homemaking, which I'll link down below if you haven't seen it already, my friend Sabrina and I were talking about this idea that I think sometimes we get where we feel like we have to get everything done in a day and it never happens, and then we feel burnt out and frustrated, or we're cramming too much in, or we're giving up, or wherever you might be. I think we see this quite often where we look at all the things in life that do need our attention. They do need to be accomplished. But how do we find this balance? How do we find this balance of being these productive, just industrious Proverbs 31 women, while also knowing how to find that balance of Sabbath rest in Christ? And so I think that it would be a wonderful conversation to jump in here today and talk about some tips and tricks that I know I personally use to find that balance in my life. Now, the first tip that really helps me here in this process is having strong and clear morning and evening rhythms. Now, regardless of what season of life you're in, regardless the ages of your children, whatever it might or might not be, having a strong rhythm, an intentional rhythm to the beginning of your day and the end of your day really does make a big difference. Now, for our family, we try to stick to these so strongly. And honestly, it took us a while to really get to this rhythm. And now we've been doing it for years and years and years because it is so impactful. In those rare instances that maybe we're dealing with a sickness or something crazy has come up and happened, we feel this more than anything else when this time is missing. Having this rhythm at the beginning of our day and at the end of the day is going to really impact everything else in between. Now, if for instance, I love having things that I do each and every morning. First thing in the morning, I get dressed and ready. Even if I have no plans of going anywhere at all for the day, I get dressed and ready to help me feel a little more put together. It takes me a few minutes. It's not that big of a deal. And if you want to see my morning routine and how I get ready, I will link that video down below. Then once I've gotten ready, I like to do something productive. Usually it's video calling my mom and we walk together in the morning. After I've walked with her a little bit and drank some water, I usually sit down with my protein coffee and get a little bit of computer work done before my whole household is up and everything is going. But my kids even have a part here in the morning routine. They have chores and things that they do each and every morning, and that allows us to keep a certain level of tidiness and order in our home. Dishes from the dishwasher get put away. Laundry that ran overnight gets put into the dryer. The stuff from the day before gets folded and put away. We have a very simple system that runs, but it allows us to kind of hit these morning and evening pillars of productivity that really do make the day stay rolling. We do the same thing in the evening, right? The kitchen gets completely cleaned up, the dishes get loaded, everything gets wiped down, a load of laundry gets set to run overnight, my robotic vacuum vacuums the floors, right? We have a very specific system. I do my shower and usually my Bible time, so I'm winding down, the kiddos get themselves tidied up and ready for bed, and we have some family time and snuggles before we have prayer together with everyone. Having these rhythms in the beginning and end of our day really do set the tone of what we're going to accomplish. And so I think when you're trying to find this balance in your life, having strong morning and evening rhythms is going to be very impactful.
This is my mom, is Heidi. She does videos.
I do. Now that Sabrina is here, real life, just like if you were here, this would happen. Yep. What crazy thing do you have to tell me about here on our new cool show?
Oh, that's not. I totally want ice cream for breakfast.
Yeah.
Okay, you can do this.
You can do it. Welcome, friends, to the Chatty Coffee Date. My second tip would be to hit those really big priorities that you're going to feel the most first. And so I try to do this in my day when I'm like, okay, what do I need to get done? I usually kind of keep a running list for myself. We use this amazing family organizational app called Maple. It's free. I will link it down below. I even have a special promo code if you want to try out some extra bells and whistles. But I love it because I'm able to just dump everything. The whole family is. I have everybody linked to it. We can all dump stuff kind of in these folders that we have on Maple. It literally stands for Making All Parents' Lives Easier, Maple. But we're able to put everything into the spot. And so I can kind of keep a running to-do list, but I can pull up the items that, those are the impactful ones. I really need that to happen. That just hit, threat level urgent. And that's what I want to tackle that day. Or if I'm planning, in the evening for the next day, knowing what your impactful priorities are, the ones that you're going to feel the most. For me, if I sit down and I put in my Walmart grocery order over the weekend, so that way we have all the groceries we need for the entire week, I am going to feel the impact of that task being completed immensely. Whereas I will often find myself getting distracted with something like reorganizing the pantry. Reorganizing the pantry is nice, and sometimes it does really need to be done, but I'm going to feel the impact of having my grocery order done. So I can pull up Maple, look at all the things I have going on, see what my to-do list is, see what my menu plan is, because it's all organized in there. I click on my awesome little Walmart button. If you guys want to see what we're eating, I will link our grocery list down below. It's easy to add them all to your cart, add a pickup order, and you're good to go. Taking a few minutes to be intentional in that way and pick those impactful things and prioritize those really does help me in finding this balance, because so often I will just get busy with things that are happening. Okay, I have 14 people living on my property. I work from home. We homestead. We homeschool. All the things of life, I really can eat up a lot of time and just constantly be busy and start to feel burnt out without really accomplishing anything. And so being able to grab those impactful priorities, focus on those, get those completed, and then see what kind of time I have left really does help with that kind of deep inner sense of like, I did the things I need to do. And then just my general kind of sanity of life, because it means then that those important things are being taken care of first, instead of me being busy and disorganized with everything and then never getting to the things I need to. So things like my Maple app, which again, it's free. It's an app we found that we use. We love it. Things like having my Walmart grocery orders. Again, I will leave mine linked below if it can help you. Prioritizing those things that I need to get done first in my day, and then opening myself up makes a huge difference here, finding some balance in my life. Yes, please know that when I say this, I am preaching to the choir. Done is better than perfect. Side note, I have some projects that desperately need to be those priorities that are being taken care of, like I just talked about in the previous step. And I have had in my head for the past few weeks that I'm going to put it all together. I'm going to plan it all out. It's going to be nice and neatly packaged so I can sit down and present the thing to the family, and like everything will be all bullet pointed out. That hasn't happened. I have not had the time of day to make that happen. So then I keep putting it off. I keep moving it over in my app to the next day and the next day and the next day and the next day. And I still haven't gotten it done because in my head, I have this idea of perfection that I want to hit. And the reality is I can't do that. It isn't working. And I had to remind myself while I was actually out with one of my children today, having a lovely time, that done is better than perfect. Sometimes one of the biggest things in our way when trying to find balance in life is ourselves. We get this idea in our head of what it needs to be or what I have to get to or whatever it might be, instead of realizing that you give it your best, whatever level that might be, and that's fantastic. Because no, like we talked about in our Happy Homemaking episode, we're not going to get everything done in one day. And to expect that that's what we need to do just isn't practical. Now, sometimes, yeah, we need to kind of get it together and get some stuff done, but other times we need to realize when done is better than perfect. And it's okay if I didn't get every ounce of everything, detailed down to the last itsy bitsy little mark. Done is better than perfect. And I don't want to add stress to myself that really doesn't need to be there. Come on, there's enough stress in the world as it is, especially most of us. I mean, we all live pretty busy lives these days. There's so much going on. There's so many kind of plates in the air that we're trying to keep spinning. I don't need to add more pressure onto myself in this. The Lord can give me His grace. I can accept that and give myself grace as well. Remember that done is better than perfect. Maybe I can't totally detail my whole house and minimize everything to the nth degree today. Maybe I can't do that, but I could start. I could tackle one room or one closet or one drawer or one something, right? I can set a timer and spend 15 minutes on something. It doesn't have to be perfect. 15 minutes today, done, is better than 0. And tomorrow I can try another 15, and the day after another 15. And those little steps, right, are going to start to add up and make a massive impact. And so remember that when you're trying to find balance and you're feeling burnt out, or maybe you're feeling lazy, you're feeling overwhelmed, you're feeling just pulled in too many directions, or like you don't even know where to start. How do you eat an elephant, right? One bite at a time. And so taking little bite-sized chunks out of the things that we have before us, regardless of what, avenue it is, one step at a time is going to help you get closer than the never starting because you're afraid that it all needs to be perfect before you can even get going. So remember to give yourself that grace. Done is better than perfect. Now, yes, we've talked about some productivity, very, very important, but remember, we're finding balance between productivity and rest in our lives. That leads me here to my 4th tip, which is have set stop times. I love this so much. I will say, again, in full transparency, I'm a workaholic. I will just go, do all the time. And it doesn't matter what it is. I mean, as a stay-at-home mom, back in the day when I believed the career woman path, it doesn't matter. I'm not someone who sits well. I will just go all day. My husband, he calls them my Heidi projects, because I will start projects and then I move on to another one and another one. And then I've got Heidi projects kind of going all over the place. And I don't even know what I'm working on anymore because I have a hard time stopping. And I think sometimes that can be difficult for some of us because we don't ever feel like we've done enough and we can rest. And so we keep going, we keep doing, right? Things like, instead of taking the few minutes to put together my weekly grocery order, so I just pick it up once and then I have everything, I don't have to worry about it all week long. I don't get to that. So then, I have to run to the store and I have to go do this and I have to go do that, right? And all these little things keep piling up, where if I would have just been intentional with my time beforehand, I really could clear a lot of that off of my plate that I don't then have to worry about. Sometimes I just keep going. I don't even realize how late in the day it is. And I never stop to rest because, now it's time to jump into the evening routine. I got to get all that done. And the day's over and there it goes. We started in our family, especially as we've worked from home for over a decade now, we have started having a set stop time. We started to really notice there really came a point in our day, for us, it's about that 3 o'clock window, where we're all really just kind of done, right? I've noticed that even if I'm in the office working or my husband's in the office working, we really aren't accomplishing much at that time. I work far better earlier in the morning. I kind of dump all my stuff out and then I'm tired by then. I might be in there like tinkering at something, but it's not really effective. Our kids, they like getting their homeschool done earlier in the day. They don't want to have a bunch of stuff that they have to do all day long. They're tired, they're done. They want to get outside, they want to play, they want to work on their own projects. And so we decided to set a stop time to our day. That is the time, whether you're setting a reminder in your phone. I have mine set up on our Maple schedule. We even set up our Google Home system to start playing lovely music at that time and kind of switch it up a little bit. So literally the atmosphere of our home tells you that we were in this time, right? Like we kind of had soft My Hymns of the Homemaker playing all throughout the day. It's very, instrumental, light, very steady and work approved. And then at this magical time of 3 o'clock, it switches over and we have some like kind of fun oldies or whatever, they kind of play that kind of have that like, all right, it is time, let's put the work away. We get ready to do our meal. We're outside hanging out, we're doing whatever it is that we're doing, but that's really our stop time. I think that's also important too, having days of the week that aren't overloaded, right? Some people, of course, we're not going to get into all the discussion about this, but having a weekly Sabbath. Now, our Sabbath rest is Christ, right? That was the substance that the weekly physical Sabbath pointed to. That's all what it was pointing to was Jesus. We have our Sabbath rest in Christ. But there's so much we learn from that. We see the understanding of having a physical, literal Sabbath, having a time in our routine where we rest, where we take that break, we recharge, we rejuvenate. And it is so important to remember that yes, labor for 6 days, rest for one, right? We see so much beauty and blessing in that. And being sure that we see that time and we take that rest as needed in our lives is important. So have a set stop time, whether it's a literal time in your day that this is where we're stopping all of the serious stuff with, and now it's just time for family and togetherness and rest, or whatever the case may be. Maybe it's a physical day in your week that you say, today is the day I am resting, right? I am not loading anything onto my plate in this day. Wherever you feel you need to go with it, having a set stop time is going to be very, very impactful in your quest for balance in your life. Now, there is no sense in having a set stop time and saying no to things and not overextending yourself if you're not going to then turn around and soak up the lovely in your life. I think for many of us, if I were to ask you about the things that you love doing, where do you feel most recharged, right? What really just nourishes you? We would probably either A, have no idea, or B, list off a bunch of things that we never really get to. That happens, right? How many of us will be talking about, oh, I wish I could learn to do this. I wish I could spend more time reading. I wish I could get out and just walk in nature more. I wish I could whatever. Get intentional with your stop times, but then make sure that you're really seeking out the lovely in life in those periods. I tell myself this. Yes, sometimes at our 3 o'clock stop time, we stop all of the work and we might have projects or things on the homestead or home that, need to be tackled and taken care of. But I try to make sure that I also have those times where I'm just nourishing my soul. Maybe it is taking a nap. Maybe it's out and getting in my garden and working with the plants there. Maybe it's sitting down to read a book. Maybe it's a sermon I've really wanted to dig into and I just haven't had the opportunity. Maybe it's just sitting outside, sipping a cup of tea while the kids play and I watch the leaves fall and the sheep out grazing in the grass, whatever it might be. Soaking up the loveliness of life is something absolutely worthy of our intentionality, because we can be intentional with productivity, which is very, very important. But I think on the same, coin, just different side, we need to be intentional with soaking up the lovely of life as well, because life is worth so much more than just our busyness. And if really looking at your day to day and your life and the habits that you live out every day and where you're going and what you're doing is something that you're kind of like, man, I don't know, am I really in the right spot? I invite you to come over and join us, because we just started a series and it will stay up. So you're welcome to join whenever you find this. But we're really looking at where God calls us as women in scripture to live out biblical womanhood in our day-to-day lives, and how that really reflects upon the habits that we have in our life each and every day, and really working through building these habits up scripturally. And we're doing a Bible reading challenge together. We've got sermons we're going through, plus our little study booklets and lessons that we're doing each week that are meant to be simple and direct, but to really help encourage and direct us and lift us up as we go throughout all these different areas. And if that's something you're interested in, you're like, man, I could probably really use a little bit of refreshing and refocusing in these areas of life from everything that I'm focusing on and doing and trying to work through, I'll leave that information down below. So you guys are more than welcome to come and join me for that. I know I'm excited. I know I needed this, and especially in a new physical season of life and kind of moving into this and saying, Lord, I want to be intentional with everything. My productivity, yes, but also intentionality in the lovely, and seeing the blessing that you've put before me in refreshing my soul so that I can be the woman that you designed me to be, that I can pour into others in the way that truly does impact them, being heavenly minded in all areas of life. So friends, I hope those tips and tricks, those little bits of encouragement can be a blessing for you here today as we look to find this balance in life, right? Balance isn't something that you attain and then you have it. It's a process that you work on all the days until the Lord calls you home. And that's okay because different seasons of life call for different things. And I think when we put a little time and attention to this, we work through this, we find tips and tricks and things that work, we can start to find that balance between the productivity, but also the rest and beauty of life to make each day exactly what God desires for us in our individual lives in every way that we can serve and just connect with those that He's put in our path. Again, I hope that this can be a blessing and encouragement. I've left lots of links for you down below. Be sure when you subscribe, turn on your little bell notification so that you can see more videos like this and all the other wonderful things we have going on. If you ever have any questions, we host a chatty coffee day each and every Saturday. It premieres at 10 a.m. so you can hop on and we can all watch it together. Anytime you have a question, put a little coffee cup emoji next to it, and then we know that you want to see your question answered in one of those video podcasts. So I will see you all over in the next one. Bye, friends.